Welcome to Game Fondue Reviews. In this video, we're going to take a look at Ingenious. Ingenious is a simple abstract strategy game designed by Reiner Knizia. Let's jump right in with the description of the rules, see if the example turns being played, then I'll be back for some closing remarks. This is Ingenious Set Up for a two-player game. To set up, each player takes a scorecard and puts the matching colored peg in each of the spaces along here. And then aside from that, they just shuffle up the bag of tiles and draw 6 for their starting hand that goes on the rack for their eyes only. During the game, players take turns in clockwise order, and the turns are composed of 3 phases, which are play a tile, score a tile, and then refresh your hand. When the board is filled or when there's no spaces left to play any more tiles because the tiles take up 2 spaces on the board, the game is over, and whoever has the highest lowest score wins. We'll go over that in a little more detail in a bit. So the first part of your turn is playing a tile. You just pick one of the tiles from your rack and you play it on any empty spaces of the board. In the first round of the game only, every player has to play adjacent to one of the pre-printed spaces, but for the rest of the game you can essentially play wherever you want. In a 2-player game, you can only use these inner white squares to place tiles. In a 3-player game, you add these light gray, and then in a 4-player game, you use the entire board. After placing a tile, then you get to score that tile. So let's pretend we had just placed this tile. Each tile has 2 parts. The way you score a tile is you take the tile, and you can see that because it's a hexagon, there's 5 spaces that are, not connected to it, and this one here. So you're going to go in a line in each of those 5 directions and see how many points you score by matching symbols. So we can see here, if this is the tile we played, we first pick one of the symbols. So we'll start with this one over here. And in this direction, we have 2 consecutive matching symbols. So that's 2 points. And then in any other direction, there's none. And this one over here, in this direction, has 1 matching symbol. So overall, that would be 2 plus 1 is 3 points. We'll see a little more detail on that during the playthrough, but essentially that's how you score. You stop scoring or counting as soon as you reach an empty space or a symbol of a different color. So if, for instance, we were in this situation, this would not score any points this way, nor would that score because there's none in the row. But this green would block those 2 points from happening altogether. So also, during scoring, it's important to note that you score in the color. So in this example, we scored 3 orange, so we'd move up 3 pegs here. If we ever reach a situation where we reach the 18 space in any of the colors, we yell out Ingenious, and we immediately get a bonus play, and you can play another tile from your rack and score it accordingly. It's also possible to get multiple bonus plays in a turn if multiple colors reach the 18 space, in which case you just get to play 1 extra tile for each. After you finish scoring your tiles, then you refresh your hand. You just draw tiles from the bag until you have 6 tiles in front of you on your rack. However, if before refreshing your hand, if your rack doesn't contain any of the colors you have the lowest score in, so if, for instance, your red, green, blue, orange, and yellow were up here at 16 and your purple was at 5, if your rack has no purples, you could show that to everybody, put those tiles aside, draw 6 from the bag, and then put those tiles that you put aside back into the bag. But normally, you're just going to draw the number of tiles you played that turn, and play is going to proceed left. It's going to continue like this until no further tiles can be played on the board because there's not enough spaces to do so. Each player totals the lowest score color. So in the example we just gave, if red, green, blue, orange, and yellow were all the way at 16 and purple was at 4, your score is 4. So whoever has the highest lowest score is going to be the winner. Alternatively, the game ends immediately if one player ever reaches 18 in all the colors, in which case that player wins, but that is very unlikely. There's also a team variant for 4 players that we're going to go over real briefly before the playthrough. In the 4-player partnership variant, the players are going to sit opposite their partner, so there's going to be 4 players. It's going to alternate between who's a partner or not. And they're going to put 2 boards together like this. The second board will have no pegs in it. Whenever you reach the 18th space, you get a normal bonus play as usual, but then you immediately go up to the 0 space of the next track. And then if you reach the 18th place on this board, again, you get another bonus play, but you don't move any further as normal. Both partners' scores are going to count toward this board. This is their board together, and at the end of the game, the highest lowest score is still going to be the winner. It's also important and specifies in the rules that partners cannot communicate with each other in any way as to indicate what tiles they might have in their racks. Let's go in this example playthrough. Normally the players' racks would be hidden so only they can see them with their face up here to make it easy. This guy's going to go first, and he's going to start with this double green here. Remember, during the first round only, meaning each player's first turn, you have to place adjacent to one of these pre-printed symbols. So this guy's going to place his green here, and he's going to score each symbol individually. This green has 1 green adjacent to it in any of the 5 directions, as does this one. So that's going to be 1 point for this part, 1 point for this part. So he scores 2 green points on his board. Now he doesn't get a bonus play or anything because nothing reached 18, so he's just going to draw back 1 tile. And again, he can't swap because he'd have to have none of any of those other colors. If he only had green, then he could swap by showing the other players.
So he does so, then the next guy's going to take his turn. He's going to do something very similar. He's going to throw out this double purple over here and score 2 purple points in much the same way. We're going to jump ahead a little bit more in the game so you can see some more interesting scoring situations. Welcome back. It's getting near the end of the game. It's this player's turn over here. You can see green is his lowest, so he's really trying to figure out some ways to score some green tiles. So the first thing he's going to do, he's going to place this one here. And first we're going to score this green one. So remember, there's 5 directions. So in this direction, 1. This direction 1, so that's 2 green. Nothing here because there's a blank space. So that's going to be 2 green points and 1 red point because there's only 1 red adjacent to that in that direction because this star stops it. So then he's going to refresh his hand because he still has at least a green. If he had no greens or no blues, he could swap out, but he can't do that at this time. And this guy's lowest score is purple. So because the board's starting to get pretty full, he's thinking about getting some purple points right now while he can. He also wants to get orange, but there's not really many places to do so. So he's just going to throw this purple one over here. So these directions, he's going to get 1, 2 for this direction from purple, 1, 2 from this direction from purple. The pre-printed ones count, so that's going to be 4 purple points for him. So his purple moves up to 10 from 6. And then his yellow that he just played, he's going to get 1, 2, 3, 4 points. So that's 4 yellow, which is enough for him to yell out Ingenious and get a bonus play. So he gets to go again because his yellow made it all the way to the 18. He'd really like to find a way to score some orange, but at this time he doesn't know how to do that. But he can do this. He's going to throw this out there, and he's going to score the purple and the orange. The orange obviously scores nothing because there's no orange adjacent to it, but this purple is going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points in purple, so that brings his purple all the way up to 16. He's hoping to get another bonus play there shortly. And now orange is his lowest score, but he has no orange, so he can swap out these tiles. You just put them aside. You draw 6 new ones to refill your hand, and then after you refill your hand, you throw those other ones back in there. He's hoping to get some orange, and it looks like he did get one there. So these go back in, and now it's the next guy's turn. We'll be back one more time at the end of the game to take a look at the final situation. The last tile was just placed and scored, and as you can see, there's nowhere else to place any tiles in the white section because remember, we're a 2-player game. So now we just compare scores, and we can see that the player over here's lowest score is blue, which is 6, and the player over here's lowest score is 9 with a 3-way tie. So this player scores 9 and is the winner in this case.
Ingenious is a solid, simple abstract game. It's probably best as an introductory to abstract games for kids to make a really great game to play with kids, especially, just the colors and things. It really fits well with that. There's an app version of this game. There's a travel edition. It's very accessible, and that's really neat too. The strategy, the positions aren't super complicated. You just have kind of a rack of tiles and you're laying them out and scoring points. But there is definitely things to think about, especially because you know your own tiles. You might want to try to coordinate some activity to score as many points as possible. Also because you can see everybody else's score. Sometimes blocking somebody else, is the best course of action just because their lowest score is essentially the only one that counts. So there's things to watch out for. It's definitely a really good game. I emphasize this, to play with kids and things like that. It works really well. It's probably not a game you're going to see lots of really serious, abstract gaming adults playing together, especially because, in like a 4-player game, a lot of different things can happen before it's your turn again. So the amount of control you have is somewhat questionable in a bigger game, but in 2-player, it's a nice competitive game. It's a simple one. If it looked fun to you, check it out. That's Ingenious.